Why you don't really see how much your family is trying to control you. One of the most frustrating things with living with my family and having suffered the type of abuse that they have caused in my life is that it is not always as obvious. The emotional, psychological abuse, it is not as obvious as you would think it would be. In other cases, maybe in other families, it's very obvious, but not in this family. And so, with part of them emotionally abusing me, psychologically abusing me, belittling me, making me feel small, good Lord, I was so close. I was really on the brink of losing my identity. And in their evil hearts, in as much as I don't know if they really know how evil their hearts are, and it gives me no pleasure, none whatsoever, to say these things about my family, to say that they're evil, but they really are, and I can't live in denial about that. So part of their evil ways was to destroy me. It really was. There's no other way to put it. Part of the abuse includes being controlled. And the subtle ways that my family tried to control me, I obviously didn't see it. I obviously didn't think it was them trying to control me. I obviously didn't even think my family was abusing me. And sometimes I honestly feel like I always have to explain this, that I grew up seeing my family as the best family ever. Sure, we had our arguments. Sure, we had our moments where things were not great. But overall, I thought my family was great. My mother was my role model. Seeing the single woman raising her kids, being there for them, working piece jobs, working inconvenient jobs just to put food on the table. She inspired me. And so every time I speak about these things and I say how evil and abusive my family is, it almost sounds crazy even to me, because this is not the perception I've always had about my family. This is not the way I've always thought about my family. I didn't always think they were evil. I didn't always think they were abusing me. For the longest time, the abuse went on undetected. I really didn't notice it. I really didn't see it. All I know is that I felt crappy about myself. I had a very low self-esteem. I had so much anxiety. I doubted and questioned everything I did. And at the time, I still considered my family to be the greatest thing. One of the ways that I'm now realizing that they're controlling me, like my sister just the other day was insisting on like my friend coming over. So recently, since now I know, and it's only literally been a couple of months, in 2022, that's when I discovered and like I was unveiled. That's how I like to think of it. Like, it's like there was a veil on my face and I couldn't see things for what they really were. And God being good, God being God, He unveiled me and I started seeing things differently. So since this year, since a couple of months ago, I've really started dividing my world in terms of like just even the people. I don't want to know the same people my family knows. I don't want us to have mutual friends or like family friends that they will know. I don't want that, because that is how they kind of take over. You know, they have the spirit of taking over. And before I know it, my friend is their friend. Before I know it, my friend somehow loves them more than me. And these are things that they would say like, oh, your friend loves us so much, because they really think they are so lovable. They are so irresistible to society. Anyway, so the other day, my sister was saying that, was insisting, in fact, that my friend should come around. So this is a friend that I made through a program that I took part of in my community, and we became friends from there. And they don't know this friend. And I think that this is the first time that they've actually not known my friends. Like in high school, they knew my friends. Obviously, when I was in varsity, I was away from home, so they didn't really know my friends. But in high school, in primary, they always knew my friends. But here's the thing, my friends never really came over. Like, surprisingly, I'm only noticing this now. We've never been the type of family that has like our friends, like us as siblings, like inviting them over to come, and like that has never really been a thing. Usually the people that come over would be like a family friend or someone from church, but never really like our friends. Not even my sister's friends would like come over or even have a sleepover. That has never even happened. Like my friends never came over. But the thing is, they knew my friends. And like my friends would greet them like in town, they would greet my mother, and my mother would always come back saying, "Oh, like your friends love me so much." Because this is the craziest thing. They love being loved. They really believe they are the most lovable people like in the world. Anyway, so this friend that I made through the program, they don't really know her. One time we went to church and she came and sat next to me because it was her church. We were visiting that church. And then after church, they asked me who was like talking to me. And I said, that's the friend. But they didn't really get to like, speak to her. And so because I've been like on and off on like going to see this friend, so there's a bit of a story there because I haven't really been going to see this friend. I've never even actually visited her. We only speak on WhatsApp. Let's name this friend Z. So here's what's up with Z. Z, I met through the program. Yes, we became friends, but it was mostly on WhatsApp. I've never visited her. I've never gone to her place, but I've lied about going to her place. Why? Because again, I am dividing my world. I don't want my family to know the people that I know. I don't want them to start like taking over because I feel like any type of relationship or friendship that I have, they just have a way of them taking over and making it about them. And somehow I feel like I lose that person to them because they are quote unquote lovable, because they can be charming. Don't get me wrong. I've said this in another episode that if you met my family, you would love them. You would want to hang out with them. That is part of their charm. But what you eventually down the line, and if you really get close to them, what you start feeling is worthless. What you start feeling are all these frustrating feelings. And at the beginning, you're not even sure why you're feeling these feelings because their abuse, their belittlement is very subtle, but it's very destructive. So I only speak to her on WhatsApp. So when I sometimes say that I'm going to Zay, I'm actually just going because I'm currently like doing a part-time job, doing my creative stuff. That's where I'm actually at. But because I don't want them to be involved in this part of my life, I don't know what is up with my family just wanting to be overly involved in my life. I don't know what is up with that. And so I've been kind of hiding this because creativity is something that I discovered over the last 3 years that I'm really good at, because I've never felt like I was good at anything, because I've recently like changed even professions. So it's very sensitive to me because when I tried to show that side, that creative side to them, they either made me feel bad or they would act like it's not a big deal. They wouldn't acknowledge how creative, talented, and gifted I am. And that hurt me. It's not like I wanted them to shower me with praises and compliments 24/7, but I wanted my family to at least say that, hey, you're good at this, or keep going. There was nothing encouraging or supportive when I showed them my creative side and my creative work. And so now that I'm doing this creative work with like somebody else, I don't want them to be involved. I don't want them to know. I don't even want them to see my work, because in the past, like I remember when I would show my sister something I designed, like she would almost like have this, I don't know, just this moment of like, she would look at it and I think she would realize that, oh, this is actually beautiful, but she couldn't like immediately compliment me. Like sometimes she would walk out of the room, or sometimes she would make a remark or a comment about something else in the poster, but she would never bring herself to like genuinely complimenting me. And that would hurt me. That would hurt me because I didn't understand why my family couldn't just, be there, be supportive, compliment me when necessary. And so because I've been doing some creative work on like a part-time basis, I I've been hiding that side from them. And so now because Zay is in the picture, and Zay and I are not even like super besties, but we like frequently talk over WhatsApp because we're both currently unemployed, and sometimes that's just what we talk about. So sometimes when I leave the house, that's where I say I'm going. Listen, this is where I am with my family. I have to lie to protect myself. I have to lie to preserve my sanity, because I've realized that when I'm honest with them about maybe who I'm hanging out with or where I am, they have a way of sipping their negativity like into my life. For example, so because my sister and my mother, they know that I go to Z, yada yada yada. So that's the story they know. So my sister comes to me and says that, oh, like your friend doesn't visit. I feel like you are investing more time in this relationship than she is. And, like she needs to come around. We need to know her. This is something that has never been required of anyone in this family. Not even my sister herself, who's insisting on me doing this. No one has ever insisted that she does that. Like when my sister meets up with her friends, some of them have cars. They come by here at home, they pick her up. They don't even bother to enter and greet. And that's normal. Listen, that's just how we operate. I don't even find it offensive that, oh, like, why don't your friends come and greet me? No, they will pick her up or she will go and meet them somewhere. It has never been asked of her to like her friends to come over and like hang around so that we get to know them better. It has just never been asked. Maybe it's something we should have been doing, but we've never done that. And so it's quite normal for our friends to not come over and hang out here, to not really come over and get to know the family. It's normal because we've never started that tradition. So it's not something we do. But here is my sister now insisting that I'm investing too much into the relationship with Zay. Mind you, this relationship doesn't exist. I only say I'm going to Zay because, I just need an excuse to go somewhere, because I don't want to tell them the truth that I'm doing some creative work. Because if I tell them the truth, they're going to want to see my work. And not because they are so invested in like my progress or my growth. No, just because they want to have a peek into everything that I do. I think it's like keeping your enemy closer type of situation. And it's weird to say that about my family, but that saying that says keep your enemy closer, it's like they want to know what I'm always up to, not because they want to be proud of me, not because they're supportive, but just because it's like you want to know what the enemy is up to. Sometimes I feel like I am the enemy. That's honestly how sometimes I feel. So she's going on and on and on about this, but I really stood my ground. And I think now that I've been unveiled and I know the type of people they are, I try my best to not be reactive, to not just get angry or defensive. I really stood my ground and I told her that that has never been required of you. Your friends, they come and pick you up at the gate with a car, or you go to them and meet them at restaurants. Nobody has ever asked you to like, bring your friends over, let's get to know them. And then her stance changed and then she was like, no, but that's just something personally I want to know, for your safety, because we live in these times, where things happen. Listen to me, those are lies. That's bull crap, just crap. She's not that concerned about me. She's really not. Like, you might be thinking, oh, what if she really is? She's not. The only thing she's concerned about is that she's not involved in my life. Because I also did have a tendency of just like sometimes letting my sister be friends with my friends. And I think that crossed a line, and we needed to have boundaries in terms of that, because as an individual, which is something that my family clearly doesn't believe in. They don't believe in individualism. They think we just should all just live as a group. But as an individual, I have a right to have friends separate from my family. And so because I never created that boundary of like setting myself up as an individual. And obviously, I was still young at the time to even create that boundary. And because my mother never taught us to be individuals, in as much as, yes, you should exist in a family, you should learn to exist with friends and all that, but at the same time, you're still an individual. And there are certain moments, times, and spaces where you need to be that individual. But no, not my family. They could never allow that. And so, yeah, I stood my ground and I told her that that has never been requested of you. And she went on with this crap that, she was just considering like my safety. It was not that. It really wasn't that. Like, I don't have friends with cars that come and fetch me from home. And yet she has friends with cars that come and fetch her. Literally anything could happen, because when you enter someone's car, they are driving. They could literally drive you anywhere. If she is so concerned about safety, then why has she never considered that with her friends that have cars? Why has she never stopped and said like, oh, I should not get in this car? Like, seriously? And that's not even what I'm saying she should consider, in as much as we should try to be as safe as possible as women. But at the same time, we just gotta trust God that He's protecting us and watching over us. And so whenever my sister gets in a car with her friends, I'm just trusting that the Lord will watch over her. Because at the end of the day, we do make friends and we do tend to trust these people, just hoping that they're not going to do something bad to us. And so, no, I'm not even saying that my sister should stop getting into cars. No, because I trust her judgment, that she knows these people and she can make a sound judgment on the type of people that they are and whether or not she feels safe. And that's another thing that I said to her. I said that I feel like you are judging my judgment, because let's say I was actually going to Zay and visiting her. I am an adult. I can make the type of judgment that, okay, this person, it's safe to be around them, or they taking advantage of me, because that was like her thing, that, oh, you are investing more in the relationship than she is because you are the one always visiting her. Like, this girl. Another thing that I've realized, the way that they try to control me. My family used to ask me why I sleep with lights on. These are the most insensitive people ever. Like, ever. So one time I found a lizard on my bed, like a big, chunky lizard. And thank the Lord that when I opened my eyes, obviously I'm lying on a pillow. And when I looked straight that side, the lizard was like so close to me. But thank God that it actually didn't get on top of me or anything. And then I remember like my sister helped me to like get the lizard out. I'm scared of things that crawl, things that just slide with their bodies. Like, I'm scared of those type of, are they called animals? I feel like there's a specific name, but animals. And after that, I was just really scared and I felt like things were just crawling up my toes. Like, it just really got to me. And so after that, I started sleeping with the lights on because I just wanted to see if anything was just crawling on me or something like that. But because these people are so insensitive, it started being a thing. They started asking me constantly, why do I sleep with the lights on? And I felt like my sister would sometimes get up at night just to see that I still have my lights on. That's honestly really how I felt, because then she would say, oh, I was going to the bathroom at like 1, which was something she never did before. I felt like she was really just setting out to see if I have my lights on, and then she would bring it up and then in front of my mother, and then my mother would be like, oh, you had your lights on. And listen, it wasn't a matter of like, oh, you should save electricity. No, it wasn't that. They just wanted to make me feel like a scaredy cat. And in as much as they would have never said that, but it was just another way to torment me. Like I said, the ways that they will abuse you, they are very undercover, they are very subtle. It's like they just set out to make you feel bad. And really, for those days, I couldn't sleep without the light on. And that is something that has never happened to me before. Like, I could always just sleep with the lights off. But after that incident, I got so scared. And I think it was more spiritual than physical, because Yes, I saw the lizard. It was scary to see that lizard on my bed, but I started just being scared. So I think there was also like a spiritual aspect to it. And so I wanted the lights on, because it just somehow made me feel safe. And no, they didn't care about that. Instead, I was just told, as always, because my mother is such what is the word? She enforces toxic positivity. Yes, toxic positivity, where she will just say like you just have to have faith and not be scared. So you just have to switch off the lights. Like no one was taking the time to understand where I was, and this is why I'm saying this. Like must have had a spiritual aspect because I would have thought we got rid of the lizard, so obviously I can sleep now. But I was still kind of shaken up. But no, 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 no. They wouldn't take the time to understand what I was feeling. They were just insisting that I turn off the lights. And every day it became a thing that, oh, you're still sleeping with the lights on. This family of mine. Another way is that they need to know where I'm going and what I'll be doing and with who. This goes back to what I was saying about my sister with the friend thing. It's like they have to know. Again, it's not because they care about my safety. It's not trust you me. It is not. I have long discovered that that's not their main concern. Maybe it's down the list. Maybe somewhere there in their list they are concerned about my safety, but it's not number one. That's not their number one concern. Their number one concern is what is she doing, with who, we need to know, and we need to be involved so that we can destroy her. And they might not say it like that in their minds because they are just so unaware of how evil and sadistic and abusive they can be. But honestly, the only reason they want to know these things is so that they can get involved, so that they can say their negative comments, so that they can have their opinion and make me doubt myself and make me question myself and make me question who I'm hanging out with and think like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. They want to include their negativity into it, not because they care. Not because they care. It's definitely not their number one concern. Another thing that another way that I felt controlled, even though at the time I didn't think it was them controlling me or my sister specifically. My sister used to do the weirdest thing. She would like monitor my food portions or what I would have to eat, or like it is so weird. They try to control every aspect of you. They try to control everything you do. No wonder I was an anxious wreck. No wonder I even got so depressed because psychologically I was tormented. Like I was really tormented. She was minding the food that I would have. Like if I had too much food, sometimes it even because here's the thing that with my sister, she's such an exaggerator. She will exaggerate. Like she would say, "Ah, so many eggs." Or, "Oh, why are we putting two slices of cheese? You know the slices when you buy that packet with the slices of cheese." Like she would literally monitor what I eat. Is doesn't that sound crazy? Doesn't that sound psychotic? And at the time, I didn't think it was like a way of her controlling me or abusive. It just annoyed me, but I just, I would try to get over it. But she would literally monitor my food portions. She would monitor what I eat. She would say, like, maybe let me say I decided to have another sandwich. Maybe like an hour ago I had a sandwich, and maybe after an hour I felt like I want to have another sandwich. She would be the first one to comment, "Oh, you're having another sandwich, but you just had," like, why? First of all, you don't buy the food in this house. You've never bought the food in this house. So if there's anyone who should say anything, it is my mother. And secondly, like I said, she exaggerates. And when she exaggerates, she starts to make you believe that all these things are true. First of all, I am a light eater. Like that's who I am. I will use the smallest bowl when I want to make cereal. I'm a very light eater. I never like stack food up, okay? But that's how she would make me feel. like I'm eating too much or I'm like wasting food. It's not even the food you buy. Not to say if I bought the food or my mother, it's not to say like anyone should waste food, but this is how she would just like confuse me. And I would start to believe that, okay, maybe I'm eating too much. Like the psychological abuse. Another thing is that my sister would tell me what I should do uh, before load shedding. Oh, this is crazy because this is recent. Like my sister is such a control freak. A freak. And she's not even the type you would think like that minds like, oh, you just said and met, like you sat down there and made a mess, fix it. No, she's not that type of control freak. She wants to mind things that she shouldn't mind, that are like literally none of her business. But those are the type of things that she will mind. And so, because load shedding has been a real struggle in this country recently, she will say, "Oh, you should make your hot water bottle before electricity goes, or you should make your tea." Like, first of all, I would also know the time, like when maybe the electricity is supposed to go, and like I know what I need to do before load shedding, and I don't need anyone to tell me. Like, again, I feel like I always have to say this. I am an adult. I feel like my family doesn't get that. I am an adult. I am a grown woman. I know what I need. I don't need anyone telling me. But this is how she feels she has to be in control, like telling people what to do. And in her mind, in her psychotic mind, she thinks she's just being helpful. If I were to confront her and say, hey, don't you think I would have made the hot water bottle if I wanted it? You don't have to tell me to do it. She would say, oh, I was just trying to help. And then she plays, because the thing that my sister always does, she will play the victim when you actually stand up to her, when you actually confront her and face her. She will act like she was just trying to be helpful and now you are just attacking her. Like, you don't have to tell me these things. You don't have to tell me. Another thing she would say, the other day I came back and there was no electricity, and so my phone was already dead, and she insisted that I use the power bank. So the situation with the power banks in this house, I've never bought a power bank. Did I? I think I had one like in varsity, and then it died. But here at home, I never had one. So my mother and my sister, they both have like power banks. And when I used to use the power bank, there was just a lot of annoying comments like, oh, don't finish it, yada yada. And sometimes my sister would say, like mom is gonna say something. And then I stopped using the power banks altogether. Like, I would rather have my phone die. Even if there's load shedding and there's a power bank that is full, I would just rather have my phone dead, because it's the unnecessary comments. Like, they are just unnecessary commentators. They will just say the most unnecessary things. And all of a sudden, it's like whenever they're looking for the power bank, just because I used it that one time, it's like, oh, where's the power bank? Now I'm the first one to be like investigated because one time I touched it. And so I decided altogether to no longer use it, to no longer touch it. And so when I came back this other time, my phone is dead, and I come back, I realize that there's no electricity. And so we're talking about that, and tell her that, oh, my phone is dead, so I'm just going to have to wait for the electricity to come back. And then she says, oh, use the power bank. I bet you can like get it to a point where you can turn it on. And then I'm like, because I know I don't want to use the power bank, because I don't want the unnecessary comments. And then I'm like, no, I'll just wait for the electricity. I'm sure it has like an hour or 30 minutes to come back. And it did actually. It was just like only a few minutes till it came back. And then she kept on insisting, no, 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 charge it so that at least it has some percentage. And then I was like, no, no, I'll wait for the electricity. And then she was like, okay. She said that as if she was offended. Here's another thing that's weird. Like, there's a lot of things that are weird about this family. When you don't take their quote unquote help, when you don't accept their assistance or suggestion, they are offended. It's like, how are you offended at me saying I don't want to charge my phone using the power bank? How is that an offense? How? And yet they always make me feel like I'm the sensitive one when I address the things that they say that I don't like. when they are actually the ones who do hurt me, and I'm the reasonable one, and I say what has hurt me, but they make me feel like I'm the one who takes everything to heart. I'm the one who's so sensitive. But then they are simply offended by me not accepting their help. Because here's the thing, when you offer someone help, they don't have to take it. They can say, oh, no, thank you. You don't have to be offended at that. You are offering help or a suggestion or an advice, but the other person is not obligated to take it. They can simply say, oh, thank you for that suggestion, but I'm not going to do that. And that is not an offense. That is not a crime. That is not an attack on you. And then she said, okay, in a way that was just like, like I've offended her. Because now, more and more, I'm learning to not take any help from my family. These people are crazy. These people are insane. Any sort of help that is offered, somehow you feel like you have to pay it back. And firstly, it's their way of controlling you. Like sometimes you don't even ask for their help or suggestion, but they will just help you, like unsolicited help, unsolicited opinions and advice. And you're just like, but I didn't even ask for this. Why? And I hate it so much when they do something I haven't asked them and they go through with it and then they tell me later that I did this for you, because you can tell even the way that they're saying it is just, it's in a way just to prove that they are good people. They did it without you even asking. And another thing that it feels like now you owe them. I've mentioned this in another episode that my mother would do this thing. So when I would wash my blankets, so I would use the bathtub and then I would like go in with like my feet. Usually I'll wear like boots and then go in because the blankets are too big for the washing machine. Go in with my feet, sort of like just wash them with my feet. And then I would leave them so that they like take out the water and then they like strain. What's the word that I'm looking for? So that the water comes out and they can sort of like take out all the water before I can hang them in the washing line, because they would just be too heavy with all that water. And so I would leave them overnight and then in the morning I would hang them in the washing line. But here is what my mother would do, because she wakes up and she goes to work. Obviously, she's the first one to wake up. She would take my blankets, hang them on the washing line for me, and then come back and say, I did that for you. Like, I didn't ask you to. Here's the thing. It's not like they do it from the goodness of their heart, where you are also appreciative and like, oh, that's so sweet. She actually, she took them out for me. No, you feel like now you owe them. You feel like now, I don't know, they feel superior. They feel, I don't know, they just do it to make themselves feel good. They don't do it to help you. And so I'm learning to no longer just accept any form of help from them. Anyway, another way is that they insist that I go with them somewhere when I've already said I don't feel like going. Again, this goes back to what I was saying about individualism. These people are super codependent. And I used to also be very codependent because that's just the way we grew up. I think my mother made us her whole entire world, that she also kind of like taught us to like just depend on her. It wasn't a healthy type of like family bond. It was more of like, oh, I can't exist without you. Like, I shouldn't have my own life without you. It was more like that. And that was very unhealthy. And so sometimes maybe they want to go somewhere. They'll say, oh, come, let's go. And I'll say, no, I don't feel like going. And again, this is something they would be offended at. Like the things that they get offended at, they are just the craziest, stupid, meaningless things. Things you shouldn't be offended at. Again, but I'm the one who is made to feel like super sensitive, like I'm so emotional when they've actually clearly hurt me. But for me, when I simply say, oh no, I don't feel like going there, they would take offense and they would keep asking and asking and asking. But now, because usually in the past, I would end up giving in and say, okay, like maybe we can go if we're going to come back fast. But I would go not even feeling like going. When you don't feel like going somewhere, but you end up going because someone is just like pestering you. I would go even though I felt like I didn't want to go, because they would just keep on asking and asking. Again, this is a control tactic. This is a sign of someone who's very controlling, who keeps on insisting when you've already said no. Isn't that the same thing with rape? If you say no, that's rape. So technically, this is like emotional rape. I don't mean to like deduce rape to something insignificant, but this is just an assault on my individuality because I've already said no. Why do you keep on asking? And then the last thing that I notice is that they pretending like they're watching out for me, but they just want to feel involved and they don't want me to do something on my own. I've already mentioned this a lot, but there's always this mood or these conversations as if they're looking out for me, when they're asking information about what I was doing, who I was with, when they want to know things about me, it's like they're looking out for me, but they're not. This is part of them wanting control, wanting to be super overly involved in my life.